Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. And I am super pumped for this one because my friend, the voice of Spanish radio for the Cleveland Cavaliers, is joining me today. Rafael El Alcalde Hernandez Brito is joining me, and we are going to talk about his career, what it has been like this season, calling Cavs games. He's called not just Cavs games, he's called Super Bowls, Final Four games. He's done it all. So I'm super pumped. I've known him for a couple years, and he was super kind enough to join me on this episode. Before we talk to him, I'm going to just run a couple clips so you can hear this man in action. He's pretty incredible at what he does. So super excited to have him join me today. So hopefully you guys enjoy this interview.
La pelota del árbitro, se le entrega a LeBron de tres en camino. ¡Sí! ¡Sí! ¡LeBron James! Acaba de ganar el partido con un triple. ¡El Rey! Detrás de centro, va a venir la entrega para el novato. Corre por el centro, hay un hueco, está en la 20. Nick Chubb todavía de pie. 30, Nick Chubb, 25, 40, 50. Nick Chubb, hasta la vista, baby. Nick Chubb, touchdown.
All right, joining me now is my good friend, Rafael El Alcalde. ¿Cómo estás, señor? How are you? Thank you for joining me.
How are you, Christian? You know, I was ready to fire my agent because I have not been on your show yet, so I had to put him to work.
well, I am the honored one here for having you on. So super excited. I wanted to wait until the season ended. Unfortunately for the Cavs, a little bit early. The season's still going on, but you guys are done for the year. So I figured maybe now you have some time from all your travels and everything and can join me and talk a little bit about the crazy season that it's been. Obviously, more than just this season, from the bubble to now to everything. So how are you, first of all? Now you have some free time. How is it finally settling in that you're done and you can relax a little?
You know, it is unbelievable. I've been talking about all this week about how from what you mentioned, the bubble, and then a condensed off season between the draft, the whatever little time the rookies had to get ready, to get accustomed to the new teams. And then we thought we were going to start in the middle of January, and I don't know where it got pushed back to start on the 23rd of December, obviously to take advantage of the holiday that belongs to the NBA for so long. And I'm telling you, the bottom line for me is, Christian, is that back in December the 23rd, when we started, we didn't even know if we were going to make it to January. You know, there were so many unknowns in terms of what was going on with the pandemic and the protocols. You know, we found out we were not going to travel. So that was a different way of doing game. For me, it was going back to how I started when I was at Univision, doing games off of the TV. So I was fine, but there were so many of my colleagues that had no idea what they were about to experience in terms of the things that you miss when you're not in the arena. You know, usually I get the chance to say, you know, Colin Sexton is getting off the bench to get ready to get checked in, or JB Bickerstaff is talking to Larry Nance Jr. about those things you miss when you're not in the arena. But that being said, I think you have to give it to the NBA. You have to give it to every single team in the league that were able to, you know, the players sacrifice a lot. And I know it sounds so horrible to say because there were so many people in this world that were going through a lot more difficult times with the pandemic. But when it comes to your routine being broken and that brotherhood that it is to be on the road I didn't see a player face to face since 2 days ago when we had an all teams meeting with the Cavs and I was able to interview Anderson Varejao with the season being over. That was the first time I saw a player in person since March 10th of 2020 whatever it was, 2020, when we played the last time in Chicago. So to say that it was different, to say that it was challenging, I think it's an understatement, but it's also an understatement to say that the NBA did an amazing job to make sure that our beloved sport kept going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the way that bubble was made, obviously little things that people could criticize if they let too many teams in or too little, whatever, and there's business behind all that. But the way they did the bubble, the way they recovered. And I mean, it seems like now with the vaccines being out and people getting back to normal life, it's not, I mean, obviously it affected the business, but it's not going to hinder as much of the scheduling. Obviously they're a little behind of what usually the finals are in June. Now they'll be a little later, but it seems like other than this next offseason maybe being a little shorter, they're going to be right back without skipping a beat. So that is pretty incredible. Now with you being the voice of the Cavaliers, what was this, your seventh year?
Seventh season, yes.
Seventh season. Okay. So with this being your seventh season, you know, how, I guess, basketball wise, you have had a roller coaster, because when you got there, you know, things are, LeBron's there, it's all is good. And then now, you know, the team isn't quite, were you there? You were there when LeBron left and came back?
No, I came when LeBron came. I came to Cleveland when LeBron came back in 2014. So, you know, I would like to say I'm the reason. I have something to do with why we went to 4 finals, but, you know, nobody will believe me. But it's been, I think a roller coaster is kind of a bad term, because we were out for 4 years, and now, you know, we have come down to the process. But at the end of the day, Christian, and it makes you appreciate the job that these NBA players do. When you go from being in 4 straight finals to going to a process where, you know, with the people call it rebuilding, other people call it retooling. We are really just growing into a core of young players that we have, in the majority being under 25 years old. And fans, I think, get spoiled sometimes, and they forget how long it takes for a franchise to recoup, to recover. And there's only a few of them that can actually go out there and sign up the big free agents and keep it going again. But look at what Phoenix has done.
Yeah.
Phoenix, people forget that it took him a few years to finally get it right. The Clippers were a team that were in the lottery forever, you know, and it's not an overnight thing. It's not everybody works, but I think I'm very proud of what Kobe Altman and JB Bickerstaff and the rest of the front office has done here with making sure that we keep growing. And from last year to this year, we have more victories in less games, even though we played 5 more games this year than last. But we increased our numbers of victories. The growth that Colin Sexton and Darius Garland showed was incredible. And then we have Jared Allen now on the roster, something that we didn't even plan on. I know the front office was looking for him in the offseason last year, but it didn't work out. But I guess Harden wanted to be in Brooklyn. It ended up working for the Cavaliers. We have the center of our future. And Isaac Okoro, who led all rookies in minutes played, maybe not in the spotlight the way some other rookies are, but he really did an incredible job growing his game from remember, this guy played 1 year in college, a season that was cut short, no summer league, no pre-training camp, a mini 10-day bubble, and out of nowhere, he's starting in the NBA at 19 years old. So I'm proud of the job that we have done, and I'm looking forward to what's to come here, because I think the base and the culture, it is what's going to carry this team up back to where we belong.
Yeah, and another obviously high pick coming, right? You guys should have probably a top 5 pick, maybe.
We're tied with Oklahoma in the 4th and 5th spot, and then I guess the same odds, that 11% odds with Oklahoma, and it's a long story to figure out how that's going to be, but it's going to be a coin toss who picks first. It is going to be a difference, but at the end of the day, they finally going to be able to see these kids. Even they had somehow of a season for college basketball. Remember, college basketball was the only sport that was suspended, that didn't play their tournament in 2020. Right. Everybody else had some version of their playoff and their championship. College basketball was the only one that didn't. So these kids came in blindfolded basically into the NBA, and all of them have done an amazing job.
Yeah. Well. All right, so a couple more personal questions. So, Rafael Hernandez Brito, but you're known as El Alcalde, which for people, it's known as the mayor. Yep. And even me, until today, I'm figuring out why. So, how did this get started? Why are you the mayor?
A lot of times, I've been asked that question many times, and I wish I had a more juicy story to it. Yeah. But he was born in Vegas, so he was born in your hometown. I used to cover boxing for Univision when I started. Boxing was my first sport. And I quickly discovered that in order to be successful in the sport of boxing, you have to be part of that ring. So I told my boss, I need to be there for every fight. I need to get to know these people. I need to get to know the fighters. So I did. And I was very lucky. I was able to develop very good relationship with promoters, with Top Rank, with Golden Boy Promotions. I was covering and calling boxing in the last 2-3 years of Oscar de la Hoya, and worked with them when they opened Golden Boy Promotion. So I was in charge of coming in. I didn't call all the fights, but I was in charge of promoting the pay-per-view. So I would go there on a Tuesday, wait for the fighters to come in, and the final press conference and all this. Now you're talking 3 weeks of every month for 6 years. You get to know people, right? So one time I was the sports director at Univision, and I used to bring 10, 11 different stations for different markets in the U.S. to promote the pay-per-view. All we did was do our shows, whatever shows we had, and promote. And don't forget to call your satellite provider and order Oscar de la Hoya against Tito Trinidad, whatever fight it was. So this time I brought in I had a talk show that used to be called El Garaje de AutoZone. I had nothing to do with sports. It was me and a mechanic. And people would call in and say, "Hey, this is Christian. I have a 1992 Honda Accord. It's making this noise." And the mechanic would tell him what to do. And my job was to bring it to like a 101, like in normal terms. So I got to know people in Las Vegas. And that week, I think it was the De La Hoya Vargas. I forget what fight it was. It was early in my career. And my co-host brought his cousin and his wife.
Okay.
But his cousin and his wife didn't have a room. So my friend said to me, "Hey, can we get this guy a room?" So I called the MGM manager and I said, "I need an extra room. Can you hook me up with a room?" "Yeah, okay, sure, no problem." I said, so it was the wedding anniversary and they wanted to go see a Cirque du Soleil. Can we get him tickets? I'm like, "Yeah, we can get him tickets." So got him tickets, and then they got him dinner, and then they want to go see the fight. So it was like that all week. And while we're having dinner, after the fight, this gentleman said to me, or said to the group, "This guy is like the mayor here. He's like the mayor of Las Vegas."
Yeah.
And I swear to you, I wasn't fond of the name at the beginning, but they started calling me that, Rafael Alcalde, Rafael Alcalde, Rafael Alcalde, and on the radio, Rafa Hernandez Brito didn't really ring or stuck to anybody's head, but Rafael Alcalde, and it became that. So, like I said, I wish I had a juicier story of how I became Rafael Alcalde, but it was in Vegas, and I love it now. That's what everybody knows me outside of basketball, like outside of the English-speaking audience that I have with my TV show here in Cleveland. El Alcalde is my name anywhere I go.
Well, I love it too. So, I mean, hey, and the story it's a good one. It's not crazy, but it's a good one. So, I wanted to know that for sure. Also, I was reading up, and if I'm not mistaken, it was an older interview, so I'm not sure if it still sticks. But you're the only broadcaster to broadcast 3 top major sports finals. Is that right?
I am the only sportscaster to have called the finals of the 3 major leagues in the U.S., which are Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, and the Final Four in Spanish. I actually have the luck to have been so far the only Spanish voice of the Final Four. We started doing it with Westwood One 4 years ago, and I've been lucky to be called back every year. And we actually, I just got lucky. I got to call the UCLA Gonzaga semifinal, which was just
what a game,
unbelievable,
awesome game.
And so yeah, I started when not many teams even had a Spanish broadcast. It's still the case somehow, but when I started, it was just it was new, to the point that after a couple of years of me doing the New Jersey Net, late 90s, the companies that had their English rights started adding Spanish to the contract because the teams were holding that on the side. So now whenever anybody signs a contract, they have like both languages covered. Like whoever owns the rights for radio owns the rights for multiple language now. So that's how way back I go.
Hey, well, I mean, it says more to you though. You've been doing it for a while, and the hardest thing to do, I feel like, in many professions, is to sustain that level of greatness, not get comfortable. And I mean, you've been obviously expanding. So, uh, with that, I lead to my question of is I don't know if you can answer this, but is basketball your favorite to call? What is the difference between calling a football game, because you've done Brown stuff, a baseball game? I mean, you've done it all, boxing. So, like, how do you manage? You have to have such knowledge of the game. What is your routine to study it up? I mean, a lot of these guys that are great at calling a certain sport, like the Mike Breers of the world, are incredible, but they seem to stick, to it. And a guy like Joe Buck that does baseball and does football, and he's great. He gets a lot of credit for being able to do like multi-sport, and you're over here, you do everything. So how?
Thank God, thank to one of the greatest people I ever met was Joe Buck, Jack Buck's father.
I
met him. Imagine this. It is like 2 or 3 months into my new life as a sportscaster, and I'm at the National Sportscasters dinner at the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and I end up at a table with John Miller, Pat Summerall. You might be too young to remember Pat Summerall, but he used to be partners with. He used to be the partner with John Madden on CBS's NFL broadcast. He is the authority of color analysts.
Yeah.
And also Joe Buck and Muhammad Ali. That was my table at this dinner. So I'm trying to pick brains, right? And one of the things Joe Buck told me was to never marry myself to one sport, that I was capable to do more than one sport. And I always thought that. I always admired Jim Nantz and Bob Costas because they cover, the Olympics. Jim Nantz, that's something that I wish I could do every 4 years. He does the NCAA Final Four, the Masters, and the Super Bowl, all within a matter of like 4 weeks when CBS has the Super Bowl. So I have done Final Four and Super Bowl, but not the Masters yet. And I always wanted to keep myself available for any sports. I'm a sports fan. And I think all we do here is just be able to watch games with a mic open. It's really nothing different than any other fans, except that we get to study. I love preparing for a football game because it is so challenging. It's so many players.
So many players,
There's so much work. The NFL, each team sends you a package 15 inches thick of stories, of articles of every team. Wow. And when I was doing the national broadcast that I did it for 9 years, every week was a different team, right? Yeah. Maybe the Patriots back in the day were twice in a month on a Monday night or Thursday night, but most of the time I was dealing with different teams. When I was doing the Browns, I know very well my guys. I just got to prepare, update my numbers and everything, but my story is set throughout the season.
Yeah, it's almost half the work because you know one side so well. Yeah.
I know which way I'm going with my storytelling, but the other team is the one that I have to prepare for. So football is the most challenging one in terms of preparation. I graduated as a mechanical engineer, and I can assure you that I study harder for a Super Bowl than I ever did for any fluid mechanics or thermodynamics exam in college. But to call, I love them all, Christian. But basketball is different because it's fast.
Yeah.
So I do it on my own. So I'm my own color person, and I have to learn how to argue with myself or disagree with myself. So I have to learn to bring up two different points of views when I'm trying to talk about a certain topic. In basketball, I do it alone. In football, I have a partner. Boxing, I always had a partner. Boxing and baseball is great because I had ex-players as partners, and there's nothing better than to have a person that has been in it. Like when I did boxing with Roberto Duran. He was my color guy. And who better to tell me what it feels like to be inside the ring or what's going on with a guy who just got hit by a left hook than somebody that has either hit somebody with a left hook or has been hit with a left hook. So they're all fun. I think they're all presented different challenges, but football is the hardest one to prepare for. When I did the national,
Yeah.
broadcast because every week. I mean, I did Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. So it was 6 teams. In most weeks, it was 6 different teams that I had to prepare for. So but that's what made it fun because it was definitely challenging. And in this business, as well as in yours, preparation is the separation. I always believe in that.
I like that line.
Being
Yeah.
prepared is what separates you from the others.
Man, and I mean, I can attest to it firsthand because you've been super kind enough to let me join on La Mega 87.7, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so hi to everyone back there in the truck. That was awesome to work with. You let me join and call a game with you. Yeah, go ahead.
And just so everybody knows, you actually made it into my whole this season. You were in the opening because you were with me on one of the biggest wins the Cavs had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When we were in Indiana and the Pacers had a 7-game winning streak, we had a 7-game losing streak, and Larry Nance won it at the buzzer.
Yeah.
And I can hear your voice with like offensive rebound. I forget what it is that you said, but he was actually, you know what? You are part of the first and only so far game-winning shot by Larry Nance Jr.
Wow. Well, I'm honored. And I don't know if it was quite a word. It might have been a noise like,
Yeah.
because I saw the play happening and I was like, oh, rebound. Like as if I was playing,
it was right in
when you're
front of
talking
us.
to a teammate and you're like, rebound, like, so I don't remember what I said exactly, but it wasn't as good as what you would have said. But so being there with you, which again, thank you, because that's been so amazing. The game of basketball, when you're calling it, is so fast that there, and not just that, people don't, I think, even appreciate what someone like you does, because like I was telling Sonia, my girlfriend, how when you sit there, you would write down every like make so that you could remember like it's a 10-2 run by the Cavs, or the Cavs are on a 12 nothing run at the moment. And so you are not just speaking into the mic, you're writing into it. You're also, like you said, when you're there in person, seeing what the coach is doing, seeing the body language of maybe, the guy on the bench, all these things at once. So with that being said, obviously, without having the fans too, I feel like it's almost, and maybe I'm wrong, but has it added more responsibility to you? Because when you're calling it, sometimes you could just be like, like the big shot, he hits the jumper, and then you give it like a 5-second like window for the fans to be heard, the noise, everyone, the music of the excitement, and you can take those 5 seconds or whatever to write something down or, take your notes. So now when there's no fans, I feel like it's almost put more weight on your shoulders. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it's very fair. It's been challenging, Christian, with the fans not being there. I always say when people sit and watch me do a game, they realize how much more it is than just calling the game. Because I also edit my highlights during the breaks.
Yeah.
Right? Whenever there's a highlight, I mark it. I'm recording my game and I mark it if there's a bucket I like or a call that I like. And then on the break, I go back and edit. So I have them ready and send them to the social team so they can post, right?
Yeah.
So it's been difficult because you feed off the fans. As much as I hated Oracle Arena because the fans were so loud, and I had to take off the NAT sound because it was enough what would come through my mic and in my ear. It was just crazy. You miss that because, and I know the players actually experienced that this year, that you feed off that, and that's why maybe the records, I don't have them in front of me, but like home field advantage is really wasn't that much important. Now it's going to be different because the teams are opening up their doors and letting fans in.
Yeah.
And they're going to feel it. You're going to feel more than anything, Christian, is like those moments that you as a basketball fan know that are key for a turnover and a run, an 8-0 run, a 10-0 run, and a block shot, a LeBron chase down block that would just get the fans involved and gets everybody loud. We definitely miss all that, and I would venture to say that 99% of the players would vote right now to have everybody in the stands next season because they do feed off that. I know they say they don't hear anything or they don't pay attention to it, But now that they didn't have it, trust me, they realize they do hear. They do hear the fans.
Yeah, it's like you appreciate what you can't have in a way. So because
Yeah.
even, I mean, we can talk just recently. So last night, I don't know if you watched the game, the Warriors and the Lakers. LeBron hits that shot. So I guess I have a couple questions. So the one is obviously, you know, LeBron hits the shot and the fans, the few fans that there were there, like stand up and react, which is like, it felt so nice to see that again. You know, I was lucky enough to do the halftime show when Dame sent the Thunder home and he hit that shot.
Yes.
And I had the angle of like where the shot was going. So, and the like, you know, even when you watch it on TV, just the rise of people or their hands, it's such a great thing to see. And like, it emphasizes the moment. So I guess that one's not much of a question, but the question is, lately, you can straighten me up a little because lately I've been maybe a little bit of a LeBron hater. And you obviously got to see this guy. There's no denying his greatness. There's no denying everything he's done for the game. So like yesterday, I see the drama when he lays there in his eye and all these kind of things. And sometimes I think he sets the drama up for the comeback so that then when he hits the shot, it's even a bigger story. Or his ankle, to me, I feel like he could have been back, but he's going to like rest it a little extra. And then he said like, I won't be the same. And I'm like, he's just setting it up for his greatness when he knows he's going to be great. Because there, as much as you can knock the guy, he's great. There's no denying he is. To me, he's still the best basketball player in the league. And so how was it like working with, you know, seeing this greatness day in and day out when he was in Cleveland? He obviously brings the championship to you guys. And, you know, now he's with the Lakers. He already brought them a chip. And sometimes, like I said, I might be a little bit of a hater at times, but there's no denying his greatness. How incredible do you think years from now we'll look back and say LeBron was?
I don't think anybody will ever appreciate LeBron James to the fullest. And I'm telling you, from a person that never rooted for him until he was part of my team. I grew up a Celtic fan. I was tired, not only while living in Miami, of him beating the crap out of my Celtics all the time, right? Obviously, once the Cavaliers start signing me to 2-week contracts, I bleed wine and gold, and I don't care what this. I've been happy every time we swept the Celtics out of the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, the first time I ever walked into the gym with LeBron in it, I have to tell you, Christian, the noise in the gym is different. You can tell there is greatness there. You can tell there's somebody challenging everybody because everybody, all you guys see is the game action.
Yeah.
You can multiply that by 10 and what this guy does in practice, before, during, and after. And you mentioned all the stuff about him taking it a little too long with the poke eye and the ankle, but that's what makes him, he's able to play with all that and use it to his advantage, if that's the case. So I think instead of hating him for that, you got to give him credit for being able to use anything and everything to his advantage. And at the end of the day, like I was telling my wife today, you or I could have been in that spot where Kentavious Caldwell popped through the ball back out there. But there are not many players in this world that can make that shot.
Yeah.
And those moments don't come to any kind of player. You have to be a great one to be able to put yourself in that position and nail that shot. And I cannot tell you, that shot that LeBron hit last night, in my 4 years with him in Cleveland, he probably takes that shot 50 times a day. And he takes 100 shots that he will not normally take during a game, not your regular side step or back step shot. He'll take shot where he'll be dribbling and bounce back and fade away and throw it off the glass, and he'll practice it until he hits it. So that situation was not foreign to him last night.
Yeah, like I mean,
he has practiced that all his life from different angles from different parts of the court, from different situations. And I can tell you, he felt comfortable. Obviously, he looked comfortable shooting it, right?
Yeah.
Even though he said he was seeing three rims, and he
I'm like, then
the
you shouldn't have been out there. You're hurting your team. You should sit down then. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's what makes him great, though. That is, in order to be a great player, that means that not just the people that root for you are the ones paying attention to you. Because those are just the middle of the road players.
Yeah.
The great ones have haters and have fans. And everybody at the end of the day has eyes on them. Curry is one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Curry got his own medicine. How many buckets has he hit like that?
Yeah.
Remember that three-quarter shot he hit against Oklahoma, walking up the court in the playoff from the left side and just bang it.
Bang,
you know,
bang.
so
yeah,
it is amazing to see, and I think everybody should just enjoy and really savor what we've been able to watch. I am from the generation. I called Kobe Bryant game, but he was a Laker. I was never a fan of him, much less of Michael Jordan. So I think it's a question that doesn't have a right answer. But LeBron James, it is the greatest player I have ever seen. To my judgment, I think there's no way. You tell me what other player has done that in his 18th season.
Yeah,
25 points a game for 17 straight seasons.
Well,
triple-double last night. I mean, he averaged a triple-double during the finals. He almost beat the Warriors in 2014 with Matthew de la Vedova being like the second start for that team.
Yeah, there is, like, I've always tried to be super real about that because obviously my quote hate comes from his greatness because I'm a Raptors guy and he's destroyed us time and time again. And, but and the little antics and stuff. But like you said, those things add to the greatness. And to be honest, it's like what did he make? He made the finals like 8 straight years or something crazy like that. Yeah. Those things, and I personally do hate when people just do the ring counting, because to me, like, players maybe get you there, but teams win the championships. Like, players can get you there, but when you get to that level, like, you can't blame LeBron for not winning a ring when you said like Matthew Dellavedova is his second best player. That's just, to me, it's a super unfair thing to do. And if that's the criticism that's going to come with it, then if I'm him, it's like, well, why try to get to the finals if all you're going to do is like criticize me for it?
And if you're going to count rings, count who took the rings in those occasions.
Right.
Because he lost rings to Dirk Nowitzki, to Tim Duncan and his crew.
Yeah.
To 3 times to Curry, Durant when he was at it, and Green and Thompson. So if you're going to count who he lost them to, I think that should count to something. But I think you being a Raptors fan and just saying that you hate the term LeBronto, you should be more worried about you looking like you broadcasting your show from Drake's locker room, because he's a fan of so many teams. I don't understand.
That's fair. That is fair criticism.
He roots for every team.
It's good for me. I could be a Lakers fan. I could be a Bulls fan maybe in 3 years.
No, but you have a reason to have all those jerseys because you wore them while you perform.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Drake is rooting for everybody.
That's true. He was there front row yesterday, so it was pretty funny. So, all right, Rafa, thank you so much for your time. Last question for you. Do you have a favorite call of all time that you have made?
Game 7, Kyrie Irving over Steph Curry, and then LeBron chase down block right before that.
Like that whole sequence, right?
That's like the same. I'm telling you, Game 7, the worst 5 minutes of basketball ever played before Kyrie hit that shot. If you go back and look at that video, between air balls and turnovers and backboard back in the rim, but that shot, that block shot with J.R. Smith, who doesn't get enough credit for kind of making Iguodala change his side to give LeBron a chance to come back from the Oakland A Stadium to make the block, and then Kyrie hitting the 3 over Curry. That, to me, because of what it means. I call Eli Manning beating Tom Brady when they were undefeated, and that little pass, the helmet catch and the pass to Plaxico Burress. I called the James Harrison 99 interception return to end the half of the Super Bowl against Arizona. The Santonio Holmes catch in the mid in the corner on the right from Roethlisberger. I call Drew Brees' first Super Bowl win. You know, I call some of De La Hoya's work, some of Pacquiao's fight, but none of them meant anything to me the way June 19th of 2016 meant for the Cavs to win the championship and to me to finally to feel what it was to become a champion. Because I don't care what anybody says that I didn't play, but I was part of that team.
You're part of
I
the
lived
team.
every single day.
You have the
And
ring. I've seen it. You have a ring. I've seen it.
I have a ring. You want to see it?
I had it when you showed it to me. I put it on and everything. So
that for sure beats any of the greatest games that I have called.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure too, just the way, I mean, they were down 3-1, coming back in the whole series. Yeah, incredible. I imagine that's what it was, but I wanted to hear it coming from you. So, well, Rafa, El Alcalde, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, man. You've done so much for me experience-wise and stuff. So thank you for always being there. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you, man. And I always believe you're the best halftime show in the business, and can't wait to see you either. First of all, I would love to see you at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, but anywhere on the road where we just happen to be in the same building. I can't wait to see you again and get back on the court with you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Can't wait. And hopefully that's sooner rather than later, but things are looking promising. So fingers crossed, we'll see you on an NBA floor soon.
Yes, man. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Rafa. Again, I can't say thank you enough to Rafa. I'm super, super happy he joined me, and it was a great time chatting with him and just learning so much. Super likable guy, as you guys can tell, and he's just done a lot for me and been a great friend. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I had a great time, and I'll be back next week with some more episodes of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Excited to watch these last two play-in games. They feel like game sevens because they kind of are. And then we'll get right into the playoffs. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.